Hey, this is Barry. Thanks for watching. This is a second video of a three-part series talking about the new 2024 GM ZR2 off-road trucks in the Silverados, and also going to be comparing it against the 5th gen Ram heavy-duty truck. In the last video, we kind of talked about the interior, exterior differences and the shocking comparison and pricing. In this video, we're going to now focus on fuel economy and driving comparisons. Right now, we're starting off looking at the tire pressure in the 2500, and you can see it's 60 psi in the front and 49 in the rear. I'm going to reset my fuel economy. So we're going to go right here, reset best score. Yes. We're going to click it again and say distance. We're going to change to 25 because we're going to do a short loop, so we want the most accurate. And I'm going to reset this again, just so you can tell this is all honesty. All right, let's go see what this beast is all about. We've got the column shifter. Some people complain about the visual as far as the look. They're not a fan of these. I don't see an issue there. I don't see any blocking of anything I need on the display. Let's see what this is all about now. I can tell you right off the bat, I really like this digital gauge cluster. I think it looks awesome. I think GM's got a really nice setup. I think many of you would know that I have been partial to Ford trucks, not for any reason other than just kind of growing up more with Fords, and you know, there are so many great options. There's Lakeshore Blue. I love that. That's probably my favorite color in the ZR2 right now. But I think GM's got the best layout right now. So we're going to pull out. The truck is in normal mode. So it's not in off-road mode. So we're going to compare both trucks in the exact same scenario. Both of these trucks have electronic lockers in the rear, and I believe both of them are open front differential. So there's pros and cons to that. For 99% of the people, an open front differential with traction management for your front wheel slip is better than having a torsion or a limited slip in the front. And I feel like I can say that because I've had 4 or 5 of each to compare. I've had Raptors with an open front differential. I've had Raptors with a torsion front differential. For day-to-day driving in the wintertime, when your truck is in 4 auto or 4 high, all it takes is a little bit of iterations on the road, and you will notice right off the bat that the truck gets a lot of torque steer with the torsion. It'll kind of pull you around the road. It almost reminds you of if you've ever driven a high horsepower front wheel drive car, you'll right away notice, all right, I kind of get what this feeling is like because you've had those type of vehicles before. And unfortunately, it's not a very comforting feeling, especially like I'll be pulling a snowmobile trailer 500 miles in the wintertime, in the ice, in the snow, and I'm constantly fighting the steering wheel because the differential is trying to pull to different differences. So in ways, I'm really glad for usability, this is open front, the 1500 is open front. And guess what? For 2023, 2024, the Ford Raptor front differential, Ford's not talking about this, but the Raptor is also an open front differential. So right off the bat, we'll just see we're at about, gosh, I'm gonna say we're at about 1,400 RPMs, about 55, 57 mile per hour. And you can see we're hovering at about 17, 18 miles per gallon. Now the truck's been warmed up. I let it sit for about 5 minutes. I wanted to make sure that, you know, I give it the best shot because I also want to compare this to my Cummins and just kind of see how it is. I'm not using cruise control, so keep that in mind. I really like the heads-up display in this truck. It's super bright. This looks great. I don't have sunglasses to compare today to see how does it work with polarization, but it does look pretty good. I can tell you right now, not to be surprised, this is pretty flat for the most part, not hypermiling, but it definitely holds, you know, 10th gear as expected. Another thing I'm really glad to see GM did in 2023, 2024 is they got rid of the 6-speed and the 8-speed trans behind the V8s and went to the 10-speed. So now you get the performance and the fuel economy and probably arguably a more reliable transmission for long term. Really like this truck. I gotta say, I'm impressed with how quiet this truck is going down the road. I'm not hearing much road noise. There's your cool camera in the driver rear. The road noise, not bad. Now granted, this road's in pretty good shape, not like most of our Michigan roads, to kind of compare ride quality. Steering effort, tracking down the road, feels good. I'm not feeling any sort of weird oscillations or any pulls, or it feels like a 1500 to be fair. All right, let's look at the mirror comparison. The mirror, obviously on the HD truck, it's huge, as expected. You know, this truck's gonna have more functionality than the lighter duty versions, the 1500 little brother. I like these mirrors, the functionality of how they fold in, how they extend, and just the viewing profile of the side. This is far superior to my Ram, and honestly, I'd say it's as good, if not better, than the Ford mirror. You get the side lights, which you can turn on in your menu here, which is kind of nice. So if you're working on a trailer or outside at night and you need some functionality on the side of the truck, you have it with this thing. So one of the things I just noticed right off the bat is it just did a pretty moderate acceleration from the stoplight there, and it has good low end torque, surprisingly, for a natural aspirated V8 that is not a 7.3 liter, you know, being a 6.6. Kind of surprised at how much low end power it had. It accelerated really nice, and I never went above 2,000 RPMs. For me, getting a gas HD truck, I have to know that it's not going to be just revving to the moon the whole time, because I just don't like that typical natural aspirated V8 gas driving experience. I like more of that low end power of a diesel or an EcoBoost. So we'll see how this thing does. I mean, right now I'm doing 55 and we're getting about 1,400 RPMs. Let's go into the fuel economy. So at the moment we're going uphill, but we're getting 11 miles per gallon. It's only going to do about 15 to 20 miles today, just given the time, and out of respect to not racking up many miles in this truck for the next customer. But at least it'll give you a little bit of an indication of, you know, what you can expect on one of these 2500s if you haven't had a chance to test drive one of these ZR2s. But so we're going downhill right now and averaging about 16 miles per gallon. No one in front of me, not using cruise control, so you can kind of gauge that a little bit. Okay, so a lot of this video in my channel is about seeing full driving mannerisms. Today we're not going to do any highway driving. I want to do more rural driving, and we're going to do about 2 miles of a smooth dirt road just to kind of see the jostling and how the 2500 feels versus the 1500. Really curious in drive quality, how the multimatics on the HD compared to the 1500. This road's not terrible. It's actually in pretty good shape, and it's dry, so we're not going to get the vehicle dirty. But the big thing is I just kind of want to throw a little bit of rough chatter into the suspension and feel the feedback into the truck. And by the way, that just came down again. So that needs an adjustment on the bottom glove box. But here's you got a little bit. I mean, it's actually really smooth. The road's not bad, but I'm gonna kind of drive into some of those little potholes. You don't feel it. I mean, it's pretty dead in the hands. Here we go. Here's a little more. Tracking good. These tires are great. Road noise is not bad. I don't hear it kicking up stones at all. This is it feels pretty good. I'm gonna turn around here in another half a mile or so and head back the other direction, so we'll get both directions of wind and both directions of the road. Okay, so you can kind of hear a little bit of chatter. Nothing crazy, not going crazy fast. 35. This is a 55 mile an hour road. We're doing 38 on, so we want to kind of be respectful here. But anyhow, you can kind of get a feel for what this thing looks like as far as chatter. I would say right now, at least with the road we're driving, this feels very much like a 1500. Not stiff or ridiculous by any means. It just opened up again, third time. So we're gonna close this again. I don't know, not slamming it too hard. I think it's pretty reasonable. I'm gonna do a quick turnaround. Let's head back the other direction, and we're at the halfway point of this loop, and we will see where we end up here. Acceleration wise, like I mentioned, you can drive it pretty reasonable and stay right around that 2200 RPM range. Obviously, if you tip into the throttle more, it will go higher, but pretty impressed with that. Some of the other things I like about the GM truck, I think it's pretty cool that it shows pad life and air filter life. Those are kind of nice features that not a lot of brands, you know, show that information. So at the halfway point, approximately, we're at 13.2 miles per gallon. All right, I want to show you this flat spot here. Not hypermiling, no cruise control. Consistently 60 miles an hour. I'm about 19 to 20 miles per gallon. That's not terrible for a big gas truck on 18-inch rims, 35-inch off-road tires. I'm impressed, honestly. I think this truck in the HD heavy-duty truck value curve right now, I think it's pretty high. You know, the 7.3 is a monster from Ford. Everybody loves it. I just wonder, though, if GM has kind of dialed in their process for the HD 6.6 over the last 10, 15 years, just keep tweaking it a little bit. Maybe with the direct injection that this motor has, even though it's more sophisticated, And there's, you know, potential chance of more issues down the road with direct injection versus the port fuel that comes on the F1 or the Super Duty. But I'm wondering if this is, with that direct injection, you get a little better fuel economy. All right, we're gonna finish up the loop. We're gonna be just shy of 25 miles here. You can see how this truck rides and drives, honestly. I'm absolutely impressed. I mean, granted, I had some pretty good roads. The roads were not terrible. The ride quality, I don't know. When I've driven a few ZR2s now, gas and diesel, and maybe it's the roads today, but this one rides and drives a lot better. The steering feels nice and tight. All right, pulling it right back in, and let's see where we ended up. So there we go. There is the grand finale. 14.2 miles per gallon over just shy of a 25-mile loop. Best. Now, granted, this is over 25 miles, so you can see an average of 13.8, 14.1, but honestly, I'm pretty impressed. Some of the other features I was gonna kind of show you, you've got your extended for your mirror here, kind of goes in and out like that. Let's see it go back in. They fold in this way. Very nice. We'll kind of compare that. There's your side lights. All right, now let's get in the 1500 ZR2 now. Right off the bat, like I said, I love the color of this truck. Let's unlock this. That always helps to get in. Truck's already warmed up, but we're going to warm it up anyhow. 1,352 pounds of payload. So you got the GVW, 7,100 pounds, rear axle rating 3,800, payload 1,352. Now let's look at the tow rating. Big difference here. Conventional, 8,800. Gooseneck, 6,000 pounds. That's a 10,000 or 12,000 pound difference to the HD truck. First impressions, getting inside here, kind of see the doors look very similar. Seating style is very similar. I don't really see any difference. Layout looks the same. Other thing I noticed right off the bat, man, the entry height to get in here, considerably easier. All right, now let's fire this bad boy up. Some things I noticed right off the bat, you lose some storage right here because you have the center console shifter. The other thing is you got to get used to this thing because I almost screwed up earlier. This takes a little getting used to. So you push that button, there's reverse. Go backwards, I think you just pull it back. There you go, drive. Now to put it back in park, press that button, there we go. All of this looks very similar. Heads-up displays in the same location. Drive modes. Okay, so now this is a benefit here of the 1500. You get different drive modes. So we've got terrain, off-road, sport, and normal. We're gonna do normal today because that would be the equivalent of what we had in the other truck. But all of your different auto headlights, fog lights, trailering options, heads-up display. I'm gonna brighten the heads-up display a little bit. Once again, it's just like the 2500. It looks great. Don't have sunglasses, can't compare to that today. Folding in your mirrors, very similar button. The downside is you do not have extending mirrors like you do on the 2500. You both have the same rear view mirrors. This one has a sunroof. So we're gonna open that up. Cup holders, very similar. I'm not seeing any less cup holders in this truck versus the other truck. Dash layout's the same, gauges are the same, HVAC is the same, rear is the same. I kind of noticed the steering wheel layout feels the same, except this is an addition. You get the paddle shifters on the 1500. You did not have that on 2500. Seats feel identical as expected. They look the same. Gonna extend the steering wheel a little bit, bring it out to me. You have power steering in and telescoping out. I like that. That hood bulge looks absolutely awesome. I think that's a great feature. I like that. Looking at all of the dash layout, stitching, once again, very, very similar. You can definitely see some of the premium features of the new GM interiors. Same glove box, same lip. We'll see if this glove box opens up a little bit. I think that other one needs a little bit of an adjustment. A ton of storage. Tire pressure right off the bat, you can notice a big difference. 37 PSI front and rear versus the other one had 60 PSI. By the way, how awesome does that red look? Not a red fan, but that's a beautiful, very sharp color. I think this thing's pretty warmed up. You can see it's pretty much in the middle now. Let's reset our fuel economy. We're gonna reset, let's go. Let's see where we're at. So another thing that's interesting is this being the 6.2 liter versus the other one is the 6.6 liter. This is an aluminum block engine. That other engine is I believe an iron block engine, so a little heavier on the front end. I believe the reason they do iron in the HD truck is, from my understanding, is iron engine blocks are supposed to be a little more durable than a aluminum engine block. And given the fact this isn't a light duty application, it's not gonna see the same duty cycle as a 2500 truck. So you can run an aluminum duty block on this. It saves you weight, which equals fuel economy. You don't see many iron blocks in trucks anymore. The only one I'm aware of is the Hemi, I believe, was an iron block, and the Hellcat, like in the TRX. But as a prime example of look at how horrible the fuel economy are on those two engines. I'll be curious to see the replacement engine that is in the new Ram 1500, the Hurricane, that 3-liter twin turbo. I'll be curious to see how the fuel economy is on that. Everybody knows the thing has great performance. All right, so I'm now pulling out of the dealership. I am actually going to reset again because we want to compare exactly apples to apples here. So there we go. Let's see what this thing's about. One of the things I just noticed is this engine has start-stop technology. Some people like it, some people don't. I don't mind it. Gets you better fuel economy, which is never a bad thing in my opinion. All right, so acceleration right off the bat. The 6.2's got a lot of power. It feels, right off the bat, it feels a lot more, I don't know if it's with throttle input, but this thing feels like it's got a lot more power. And it's probably just the calibration of the engine, whereas this engine's more for sport and the other engine is more for durability. But this thing feels more playful for sure. Road noise, initial impressions. Not noticing any different vibration in the steering wheel. Not feeling anything in the pedals. Not feeling anything weird there. Feels good, track's good. If you jumped in one versus the other, I don't think I could tell a difference. There might be a slight bit more road noise in these tires, just slightly. So I don't know if that's just from being a lighter tire or maybe being a 38 PSI versus 60, but that is something I do kind of notice right now. See it, light acceleration, it revs a touch higher. And it feels like it accelerates a little bit higher considering the same amount of throttle input I'm putting into it. Not hypermiling. Some things I've noticed in the first 6 miles of this truck, driving this truck. Power-wise, this feels a little stronger. Fuel economy-wise, I think this is a little bit better. Road noise-wise, this is louder. There's more noise coming from the front end on this truck than that 2500. I don't know if it's because that truck is higher up, so the road noise doesn't, make its way into the cabin, but it does feel like this is a little bit louder truck to drive than the 2500. Okay, you're gonna turn down the exact same road, do the exact same loop, so we can kind of get a feel for the ride quality. As I mentioned just a second ago, one of the first things I noticed right off the bat is the road noise. There's more road noise with these tires. I don't know how to explain it. It's funny that they're both the same branded tire, but there's a little bit more road noise in the front of these tires in this truck versus the 2500 ZR2. So got to about 35, 40 miles an hour going down the same road. So far, let me try to see if I can dip the tires into a little bit of I'm not seeing much difference. I would say maybe one of the things I've noticed is the steering is slightly tighter than the 2500. I don't know if it's because the 2500 is a little taller, so there's a little more, things are exaggerated a little bit more as far as like looseness in the steering and suspension. All right, so here's some bumps. It's probably a little bit smoother. I mean, as expected, I went through that. I didn't hear as much chattering and noise in the interior. We got another set coming up here. We can kind of compare. So once again, doing 35 to 38 miles an hour, same loop, same day, same conditions. Gonna try to hit it the exact same way. So let's see how it feels kind of going through this. Kicked up 1 stone there, nothing big. I would say it is a little bit better ride quality. I think that's probably to be expected, but it's not a ton. It's not like 50%. I would say I'd give it a slight nod, maybe 10, 15% better. It's nothing crazy. Like right there, I just hit a little chatter, and rear end felt the same. I don't feel any feedback in the steering. Very similar to how the 2500 feels. Heated steering wheel works really well. Heated seats work really well also. Definitely warm me right up. Coming up to the halfway point now, going to turn this thing around. Also kind of curious to see how the steering radius kind of compares. Let's kind of see how this compares. A little bit tighter because we were not out as much on the outside as we were on the other truck, and it still was a little tighter, as to be expected. Let's accelerate here, get back up to speed, and I saw some chatter bumps back here that I'd like to kind of feel and see how it feels on this 1500 ZR2. All right, let's get a comparison here. Going 37 miles per hour, kind of go through a little bit of chop. Nothing too crazy, not hearing any crazy noises, feedback in the steering, in the seat, not feeling the rear end kind of kick out on this. Little bit of noise right there, but nothing crazy. Yep, definitely would say this is improved over the 2500 for ride quality, and everybody would not be surprised by that. You know, 2500 stiffer frame, stiffer axles, all around. The truck's made to carry more payload and pull more weight, so it's got to be a lot stiffer than a truck like this. Not sure if you can hear it, but the road noise I hear from the tires at about 25, there's some little bumps, but nothing still crazy. 25 to 30, you can definitely hear the tires roaring at that point. You feel it slightly in the steering wheel too. Finish that portion of the loop. Now we'll get it back to the dealership. Regular acceleration, kind of can see I'm hitting up to 2,300 RPMs or so. Still going uphill, so it's not bad. Look at the fuel economy though. We're already 3 miles per gallon better than the 2,500 at this point. Very interesting to see how much of a difference you see there. I'm gonna do the same loop and compare to my Ram, just for comparison's sake. Both heavy duty trucks, and see how that thing rides and drives versus the GM. Okay, we're gonna now compare. We did the video in this exact same location. No hypermiling, no cruise control. Look at the fuel economy though through this location. Look at this difference here. Guys, you're looking at like 26, 25, let's see, 27, 20, 26, 27, 25. You can see that there's points where this engine is much more efficient than the 6.6 gas HD truck, but they're still very close. Braking, pedal feel, acceleration, just general ergonomics. These trucks, the 1500 and 2500, feel very, very similar to each other. That's nice. So if you're familiar with the 1500s, you could jump into 2500 and feel comfortable there too. Not sure if you can hear the noise, but you can definitely hear a little bit of tire noise right around these speeds. So start stop is on, gonna accelerate from the light, it's green. Very smooth. Before your foot can transfer from the brake to the gas pedal, it's already working good. We're gonna sum this thing up, kind of see how the 1500 and 2500 compare. Coming into that same transition, feels pretty good, looking good. All right, park. Very cool. About out of gas, so it's a good time to get back. There we go. For some reason, it shows about a third of a mile less, but 18.8 miles per gallon for the 1500 ZR2. So definitely interesting that this got, you got to look at what we ended up finishing up on the other truck, but gosh, about 25% better fuel economy. Going to also compare under the hood to see what these trucks look like. Pop the hood here. Okay, both got the hood props. There's the big 6.2 liter. Can see plenty of room for access and serviceability for in the future if you're looking at it. Kind of look at some of the different connection points for your battery. There's your air intake, and you also have it here also. There's your, this is kind of cool. This is your, I think this is your front differential breather hose. So for fording any water, so you don't get any water inside of the differential. So now let's compare that to this big boy. All right, now we'll pop the hood of this beast. The hood opens a little differently. Both hood struts. This is kind of cool. Check that out. You got a second spot for another battery if you want to add one. I see right there, if you can see it right there, that is the breather hose for the front differential. Intake, top of the engine, totally different spot. You got the intake on this side for the 2500, but same serviceability. I believe these motors physically are almost in the exact same location. So if you look at this truck though, hood height, man, it's way bigger than the 1500. If you made it this far, this is a long video and I appreciate you watching. To sum it up, I give the nod to the 2500 ZR2 over the 1500 ZR2 for a lot of reasons. Number one, it's got 2,000 pounds more payload than the 1500. I mean, that's a lot when you consider this is a truck and you're using truck stuff, and I didn't notice much of an impact on your ride quality. Secondly is the 12,000 pounds more fifth wheel towing. That's a huge, huge difference. You also get to have factory 35-inch tires. And lastly, to me, what's most important, it's $2,000 less expensive than the 1500. I'm still shaking my head over this, but that's why I think it's the clear winner. Thanks for watching.